Let's see how many ones I have. Okay, great. Lots and lots of ones. Now, do me another favor. Give me a 2 if you are here and you've won a federal contract. Give me a 2 if you're here and you've won a federal contract. Yes, Debbie. Yes, I know you have. You're one of our former students. Debbie, congrats. Just submitted mine today. Oh, great. Okay, Susan Johnson. Okay, great. Now, one, oh, wow. Okay, one for UPS 4K 5 years ago. That's still winning one. Great, great, great. Last question for right now. How many of you have won a state contract? So put a 3 if you've won a state contract. Let me see how many of you won a state contract. So we've had a couple of 2s, a 3, and 1. So we've had 1, 2, 3 people have won, 4, 5, couple people. Well, congratulations. That is fantastic. So I am your host, Mrs. M. I am going to give you as much as I can on this free launch party. We call it a free launch party because this is our Crack the Gov Code. We do quite a bit of free training. So we probably will send you free training even if you're like just getting started, because that's the way you learn. If you've looked and listened to anything on YouTube, the number one thing I'm going to tell you is research, research, research. Research the pricing. Got to know your pricing. Research who won the contract. You need to know that information. Research who's going to do the middleman for you. You've got to know that information. So the key that I've noticed is research. That's a big one. And that's the one a lot of people don't think is as important. A lot of people think that they want to submit, but they haven't understood that they have to understand the research part in order to get to the submitting part. So I am going to give you kind of like a overview of how it kind of works and tell you a little bit about me. Then we're going to go into looking at some facts and figures of where we put this all together. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And please, once again, when I get off of this screen, it's a little bit challenging for us to mute you. So just be mindful until I open it up for everyone to start having a conversation. We want to kind of get through the learning portion, and then we're going to end up with the talking portion. So that's when we can ask questions and make sure that we know what we're talking about. So let me go ahead and open up this full screen and let's get to it. So I'm going to share this slideshow. Now, I'm not a big slideshow person, but of course, I do want to give you some kind of background about me so you can understand why you're here, what have I done, what makes me feel like this is something that I know is a good fit for you. So like I said, welcome to the Crack the GovCode Masterclass. I teach items on here that I don't teach anywhere else. I do a lot on YouTube. I give a weekly GovCon lunch and learn, so that way you constantly are getting fed. But I only do this on the Crack the GovCode because this is our signature launch. We launch 3 times a year. And when we do a launch, we give you some information that you can implement. Now, like I said, I am going to give you as much as I can, like I always do, in this time frame. So I'm giving you what we call the high level. High level means it's going to get you to thinking that you can do this too. It's going to get you looking at the possibilities. It's going to get you to understanding and kind of connecting the dots together. Eye level is where you get the actual formula, the ingredients, the step-by-step strategy. So there's 2 ways you're going to learn: high level and eye level. And there is a difference. It would be impossible for me to give you the eye level with everything unless we did like 8 hours. And we know we're not doing 8 hours. So that's why I like to get you something. My goal is to give you at least 1 or 2 items that you can implement today. And then, of course, for those of you that are interested in the eye level, then I am going to also give you a way at the end of this, at the end of the questions and answers, for you to join me with our other thousands of students who want the eye level. All right? Okay. So we're going to go through this rather quickly. We all know that there is a code to government. We know that the majority of the individuals, 8 hours, let's do it. Yeah, right. I would be hoarse and you would be bored. So we won't do 8 hours. So we all know that there is a code to government. There is a code to everything in business. There's a code to life. Let's just be real. Some people make great decisions and some people aren't really great at making great decisions. So we may have a lot of bad decisions that we make, but we don't want to make those in government. So one of the things that's going to save you a whole lot of time and a whole lot of energy and a whole lot of overwhelm is to get a little bit of understanding of how this works. When you learn how to crack the code, get into the vault and get down with the nitty gritty, that means that you should be able to beat the odds of winning a contract, which could take 3 years. 3 years is what it normally could take for you to actually win that contract. So our goal is to focus on what we can do in 2 weeks to 90 days. Now that is not the norm. The norm is about 3 years. We want to focus on what can we do to be the exception to the rule. Now, we are a lot of people that win $1 million contracts, $12 million contracts. Let me just go on the record saying they're not the normal people. They're doing something different, faster, better, a better understanding. They understand research. There's certain skill set that they've gotten that maybe came naturally to them because they did that in their other job or they were exposed to people. So we want to kind of give you some of the skill sets so you can jump over that learning curve. That's the key. Government is a learning curve, and there's a lot of moving parts. That's the code. So let's kind of understand what we need to do to make that happen. The number one way you're going to get your foot in the door is the low-hanging fruit. Let's just be clear. The $1 million contracts and all those are great, but you want to get the very first code you want to look at is getting a contract that is going to be able to give you 3 past performances and preferably in the same agency. That's the key. Okay. So let's give you some tools that you're going to need, some surefire ways. And this is the formula that I breathe, eat, and live by. This is my trademarked OBART. And my OBART is very simple, but complex at the same time. So the first thing you want to get to know is your offer. The offer sets everything else on the path to being able to do this. The next thing is the buyer. One of the things we're a little bit shaken up in is this new administration talking about relocating a lot of federal employees. There's about 2.2 million federal employees. This is all over the United States. All over the world. 2.2 million. Hundreds of thousands of them are concentrated in my area, the DC, Maryland, Virginia. The other ones are concentrated in California and Texas. There are some scattered in Oklahoma, Colorado, and that's what we're going to talk about. How do we do an inroad, whether you move someone way across Nebraska or they stay in the DC area? So knowing what the game is and knowing how to do a play, just like when you're doing sports, then you're ready. Doesn't matter what they do. So the B for buyer is an important part that we're going to talk about. A for avenue is one of my favorite. That is how you're going to win the bid. And I'm going to be real specific about an avenue that we're going to look at today. Relationships is important. That's the other part. And T for teaming. Now, I have a young lady on here that has been in my Crack the GovCode, my disaster relief, and her name is Susan. Susan has come to our conferences, and she's been with me now for about a year or 2 years. One thing that she said that I'm just going to have her unmic it is she's going to tell you a little bit of a story of how she first got introduced to government contracts And then on this formula, she's going to talk about what was the main thing that she noticed that made the difference. Hey, Susan, are you here?
I'm here, Miss M. I'm here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Um,
So I know
I'm
you had mentioned to me
mhm.
a while ago about winning a contract. Can you, in a couple of minutes, talk about how it started, how much was it for, and what was the number one thing that you noticed made the difference for you?
Well, after thinking over the contracts that I won, I realized that I had won more contracts. I'm just a little worker bee. I had won some from the state to provide plaques for the university buildings. They replaced all the buildings that acknowledged the founders. So I was contracted to do quite a few plaques, over 100 plaques for their buildings. But the one Miss M is speaking of is with the federal government, and I had a monument company for about 20 years. I started out of my home, and then I moved to an office that I had for 10 years, and a gentleman had came into my office and asked me to uh, if he could be my supplier. I told him I was interested in the federal government, and someone is off the mic.
Yes, could you please
Um,
be mindful? Because what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that no one can say anything. So we're grown-ups here. We're trying to share information. Please be mindful that your mic is open. Go ahead, Susan.
so I expressed to the gentleman that I wanted to supply headstones to the federal government, and I knew that they had specific granite and marble that they only used, and I didn't know where the supplier was. So the gentleman brought back the supplier's information to me. I said, now I don't know how to get the contract. And he gave me a phone number, and I called the person who was a female who was over all of the cemeteries throughout the United States. Um, and she sent me the contract without me having to um, do what we have to do to get on SAMS at this time. And I won two contracts, one for one state and another one provided headstones for 8 states. Um,
The person in the
and
background, could
it's
you
all
please
like
mute
Miss
your
M said.
microphone? We can't hear. Tell that person to mute Miss M.
I'm
I
trying to
think it's
find them now. I'm going
Jean.
to do more than mute them. I'll kick them out. So if I
I
hear
think it's
noise, I'm
Jean.
kicking you out.
Jean Gelin, Jeangelin.
Okay, let me see if I can go over here. So we're giving you your last chance to be quiet. Thank you, guys. So go ahead, Susan.
So
So what you realized, this was a contracting officer that you were talking to.
she was over all the contract officers.
So she was
She
over all the
was the
contract
head.
officers. And the one thing that you
Yes.
would say that you noticed was when the government has a project, they will help you narrow down who, what, how, where. They will give you a lot of the information. That's why I said, if you know what you're offering and you can try to reach out to them, the number one thing I've noticed over doing this for all the years I've been doing it is this one thing. Can you help me find this? Can you help me find the supplier? Can you help me find this person? We've got lots of testimonials from students with no past performance. They were here last year. They've won a contract this year. And the number one thing they've been able to say is, hi, I'm looking to offer this. I noticed, and I'm going to tell you, it's not just throwing it blindly. There's certain things and places you want to go. But what we're getting at is Susan had no experience in government. She found someone that wanted to be a supplier, asked them, can you help me connect it? They connected her, and this person was over
Hmm.
everything. And that contract was valued at how much, Susan?
$3.1 million. But one thing
$3.1
I
million.
wanted to point out, Miss M, one thing I wanted to point out, not only did she help me with the contract, she gave me information, uh, contacts to other individuals that had the same contract that I did, that could walk me through the process of completing or making the headstones. So I opened me a factory like that, and all the other monument companies came from nowhere and gave me extra equipment that they had and helped me set up my factory. It was really good. But
Wow.
she helped me, she directed me
Helped you
to
get some stuff
other
going.
other people that had the same contract so they could tell me where to get the other supplies that I need at the affordable price.
Well, thank you, Susan. That is just
You're
something I
welcome.
want to share. In this formula, I have never seen very much outside of this. I have to first know, I get people call me all the time and say, well, how do I get started in government contracts, Ms. M? And yeah, very encouraging. The number one thing I tell people is you got to know what you want to offer. I always say offer something that you know a little bit about, because then you don't have a learning curve with your business and government. Then we show you how to find the buyer, which I'm going to share real quickly here. Then the thing that throws people off is the avenue, how they want to win. I'm going to share with you the best way I would say, regardless of who's in office, this is the best way to look at what you want as your avenue. Avenue is how you're going to win that contract. Relationship is what Susan's talking about, building a relationship. And one area that's really important, I'm going to share with you. And the last is teaming. Teaming is probably one of the most important areas that I can even talk about. When I got started, I ended up teaming with people. I was a subcontractor, and that would be the number one way I would say if you need money tomorrow. Because when I teach this as just your mortgage is due. You've got to pay your child's tuition for college or private school, or you got to buy food. Whatever it is, it's a sense of urgency. We need that money now. So I'm going to teach you in a way that's going to get you some money in your pocket right now. And then we're going to build up the strategies for long-term money, long money. This is young money. We want to look at how we get the old money too, because that's important. All right, so let's go on to getting into what we need to do. And I'm going to share with you that. And so at the end, you guys can hold your questions for me. If at the end in this hour and we have about 45 more minutes left, if I haven't answered your questions, then you can talk them out. All right, so let's go. We know that almost 90% is what we're offering. Let's be real. The low-hanging fruit is going to be smaller profit margin. So if we're doing janitorial, landscaping, that's going to be a smaller profit margin. Cybersecurity, products can have a nice profit margin. And I'm going to tell you specifically which ones today that we want to look at. So offer is everything. Nailing down your offer. Then knowing who your buyer is. 40% of the game is who your buyer is. Your avenue is how you're going to win. And relationships are a good 60% of it. And teaming is so important. Now I'm going to skip through this and let's go a little bit. I was in the Air Force, served about 12 years. I know whenever I would do a master class, I would always wonder, why do people tell me what they've done? And I thought about it for a second. How are you going to learn anything from me if I haven't done what I'm teaching you? Not that I've heard, but what I'm teaching you. So I first started out, I was a GS grade. Then I became a veteran in the Air Force, served about 12 years. Then from there, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, became an entrepreneur. I knew nothing about what I was doing. I had already got my rental space. I had to learn on the spot. Very challenging, but it makes you want to do it. So for those of you that have your cage code and you haven't gotten $1 yet, you feel like you probably have a hobby and not a business, because a business is about making the money. So we're not going to learn it the side hustle way. We're going to learn it the viable 6-figure business way. That's what we're going to learn, the strategy. So then I learned how to do the middleman. The middleman is the number one way you're going to be able to scale your business and take yourself out of it. So after about a year, I was able to do the middleman because I learned how to do that. So that is where you find other people to do the work for you. There's only 24 hours in a day. You can't do it all. So that's what we want to focus on. What do we need to do today, short term? And what do we need to do for long money? All right. So this is me doing conferences. I do several a year. That was me in Atlanta. This is one of my previous students that won a $169,000 contract. This is Bree. That's the one we're going to focus on. I did an interview with Bree that I'm going to share with you. Bree has won 10 million in a year and a couple of months. And it may sound like that's impossible, but I'm going to tell you the one thing she told me, and she does teaching with our students. The one thing that Bree talked about is finding a state contract. Now that means that state contracts are going to be very, very profitable, and they can be. And this is the key. The key to the state contract is you really want to either, which I did, I was registered in Florida, but I registered in South Carolina because there were a lot of opportunities in South Carolina that may not have been available in Washington, D.C. Too much competition. So I didn't just stay in my little lane and keep going. I realized there's other, like, what, 50 states out there? Let me see if I can't find one state that start looking at their state contracts, which I did. And from those state contracts, I start seeing a similar pattern. And that's what Bree said in the interview. Doesn't matter if you're in South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida. If you're doing a state contract, there's a similar pattern in finding them and winning them. And she knows how to do that because she's won $1 million state and then a $9 million state contract.
Hello? Uh-huh.
Let me see if I can. Hold 1 second. Let me stop sharing and knock this person out of the chat. Hold on. Got to go, got to go. We've mentioned it too many times. Stacy Brown. You need to turn your thing off. Sometimes being too nice can cost you. Trying to let people be able to talk, but we got to be grown-ups here. We're grown. All right? Hate to keep doing the fussing like we're in the 3rd grade. All right, let's see if we can't go back. All right. So the number one thing we want to look at is not being reliant upon federal contracts, but looking at state, local. And the number one thing I want you to put in your mind, write this down, are pool contracts.
Excuse me, Miss M.
Oh, yes.
I thought Bree won a $9 million contract.
She did. She won a 9 and a 1, so she's at 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she won a 1 million within 2 weeks of completing her studies, and then she won a 9 million this year. So she's won
But
2
she said
so
she
far.
won like 6 other ones too.
Right. She won 6 other small ones.
Okay.
Through divs and okay, you're fine. That's okay, Stacy. Yes. So this is what we want as well. What we're looking at is an example of a letter that is sent out where we call no bid. This person finds you, they send you the information, they give you the price, you answer, can you do it for that price? And you get the contract. We've had lots of students that have won those type of contracts as well. Reginald, award letter, that's what we want. An award letter means you've won. Now let's look at what we need to do. All right. And this is for anyone that's listening, that's ready to get started. All right. So let's look at what we need to do. The first thing is, let me share my screen. And let me give you a couple of facts here. The number one thing you're going to make some money off of is knowing what your NAICS code is. When you go to NAICScode.com, I want you, now I'm giving you the high level, not the eye level. And when you go to NAICScode.com, let me explain what I mean by that. If someone asks me to bake a cake and I tell them, you're going to go to the store, you're going to get the ingredients, you're going to come back, you're going to turn the oven on, and you're going to bake your cake. That's different than saying you're going to this particular store, you're getting these type of ingredients. As specific as the type of eggs make a difference. What kind of blender you're going to use, what kind of oil you're using in the pan, what temperature. All of that's going to make the cake easier. As opposed to if I just tell you, go to the store, get the cake and put it in there. That's the difference in high level and eye level. So when we start getting into it, the very first thing you must know is your NAICS code. And this is the key. You have to know your keywords associated with your NAICS code. So you've got to know the keywords associated with the NAICS code. Now, these are the agencies that are going to be impacted by the upcoming election. I've gone into DC and I've talked to the federal contracting person. I think it's like the union. These are the agencies that are going to be impacted. You ready? Let's go. There's going to be either a 14% cut or elimination. Department of Education, probably already know that one. Environmental Protection Agency, HUD. This is going to be another one. Health and Human Services. We do a lot with them. That's going to be about a 14% cut. USIA, Department of Justice, and Department of State. Very few people have probably won contracts other than Health and Human Services. Most of you probably haven't won one, maybe with EPA, but DOE and all of those you may not have. The area that they are going to win, and this is what we're going to focus on, where you're going to win, and this is where I'm giving you something you can implement today. Where you're going to win some contracts are going to be here. It's going to be with these agencies here. Let's go. Department of Defense is going to be giving a lot of contracts. This is an area that I have just had a student win a $8 million contract on uniforms. Uniforms are big. Where are you going to find your uniforms? Sources sought on sam.gov. Now, I'm giving you the high level. There's a lot of ways you're going to find them, and there's a lot of ways you're going to answer the sources sought. But sam.gov, sources sought, Department of Defense, mainly the Army, uniforms. That's a big one. Now, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you update or have something on your NAICS code or in your capability statement, which is that one page that shares everything with you that lets the government know you know what you're doing. So the first thing you want to do, if at all possible, is update. You don't have to do it today. Update your NAICS code on SAM where you're selling products. That's number one. Number two is then we want to spend time going to one of our favorite places, usaspending.gov. Now, for anyone that's looking at a grant, there is about 25% of the grants right now they're looking to give money to. This is what you want to do for grants. You want to go and look at usaspending.gov, which we're here. You want to look for fixed charges. Fixed charges on usaspending.gov, and you want to also go under usa.gov/benefits. There's a lot of money. They spent like $7 trillion on grants. A lot of it is spent, of course, on Medicaid, Medicare, all of that. But there's a lot of money for government grants because one of the biggest things people say is, Miss M, I don't have the money to get into it because I don't have the money to have to wait to pay people. I'm going to give you a walk around with that. The other thing is you want to use findhelp.gov. Findhelp.gov is another one that will help you with grants, finding grants. And the last thing I'm going to give you is going to be, do not forget to go to your economic development. I went to the one in Atlanta. Every place has one. Economic Development Center will give you a whole lot of information. So start doing this stuff now because we want to be proactive. Okay. So the agencies that I mentioned that are not going to be impacted is going to be Department of Defense, Homeland Security, that's FEMA. So your disaster relief contracts, you're going to get more money. National Guard, Department of Transportation, big one. Defense Acquisition University, and the last one is Department of VA. Now they're going to start getting people who are certified at VA like me, a vet, and people that aren't. So the number one way that I would look at winning a contract right now would be mainly with the Department of Defense in the Army. I would focus on products and services, but do not forget about products. That's going to be a big one. I am giving my students the eye level on what type of uniforms. This is the key also. We have a list of over 1,000 military bases. I'm in DC. We probably have about maybe 15 military bases in Fort Belvoir and all of them, Pentagon and Fort Meade. I can't even begin to name all of them. There are a lot of bases that we have lists of names and phone numbers that are in an isolated area. So there are these military bases in these isolated areas, part of the Department of Defense. They need their uniforms, and there's nowhere around them that's selling those uniforms that they can get quickly. That's where you come in. Now, we have a list of all the military bases, where to call, the phone numbers that I'm giving to my students. Anyone that's a Crack the GovCode student, you're going to get that list. So for those of you that are here, that is something that you want to look at. Department of Defense, but it cannot be like in Washington, D.C., it's not really going to be a challenge finding someone to provide uniforms. But there is a Air Force base in Utah where we provided uniforms, personally me, left and right to them because they were there by themselves and they were there by themselves, and it took too long for them to be able to get the uniforms. So I won a lot of uniforms doing sole source, finding them on SAM, taking my list of the 1,000 names that I have, finding the military bases in that area, doing my research to find the last company that had the account. And I'll share with you where you find that. And then I was able to use usaspending.gov to see how much money they spent. So when I'm doing all this talking, the key you should be connecting is their breadcrumbs. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why I try to teach in steps, because government is a step by step by step. I can't, and think about when we were in math class, I can't do divisions if I don't know addition. Well, a lot of you are trying to do division and you don't know, you haven't gotten there yet. You haven't even determined what your NAICS keywords are. You haven't understood that you've got to do research to find out, because a lot of people, when they're doing pricing for uniforms, they overprice. We found a rental company. That's where we got them first. We found a rental company. I went the rental company way. I found a rental company that I was able to get them for a little bit of money, and then I was able to supply them to this particular military base. And then after I started doing more research, I was able to find them and get them made. And I was able to make sure I was able to get them for less than that. Okay. So that is something that I'm giving you that you can implement right now. And does it matter if your LLC doesn't have anything to do with your NAICS code? No, it does not. You don't have to have an LLC that has anything to do with your NAICS code. Any and every contract that you want to get to know, I can come here because we're doing high level. I can put in a keyword and I can put in a year. I can put in fiscal year 24, and I can put in so much here. I can put in the award type, the location. If I'm looking for something, I'm still going to always say, look for something in your area. Oh, you're welcome. I'm going to say, look for something in your area. I can find a contract that's under 250,000. That's still going to be your best bet. A lot of these uniforms are 166. Some are like maybe 180, 180. And then you can win some for 5 years that are worth $1 million. But let's start in our lane right there with one looking for, let's just give you an example of a uniform, finding a source assad. Now, the challenge of a source assad is you have to know what to say. You have to know. That's why we have templates for our students. We give exactly a template on what to say and how to make sure. Am I freezing up, Susan? No? Okay. Maybe that's your computer. You have to know exactly what to say on the sources side. The number one way I've won contracts have been on sam.gov providing products. I just had some students that they wanted, I think it was like 100 compact, I forget the name of the computers. They use their American Express. You can maybe use your credit card. I know that also there are places that will allow you to have credit. So products are a good one, and a lot of products are on SAM and another platform that we have called the Dibs Navigator, because Dibs is a great way. So I can come here, I can find out the latest contracts. I'm not going to give you all that because we are pressed for time, but I can find out who's winning, what government agency, and I can then go there and I can find, and I know who my buyer is. Once I find my buyer, I then want to figure out what way I want to win. The number one way I want you guys to concentrate is a no bid. There are over 100, 200,000, and this will not be impacted, of companies like BAE, Booz Allen, Lockheed Martin, small companies that will do event planning, cybersecurity, painting, janitorial, landscaping, construction, and they will have a government credit card where they will pay you with that government credit card for services. We have a list of all of the companies that have micro purchases that we'll give to our students. You can try and Google, but these are companies that use government credit cards called micro purchases. The best way to win a bid with no experience is a micro purchase for under 10K. The next is going to be a simplified acquisition procedure, which I talk about all the time. That's under 250. Focus on that. Find your buyer on usaspending.gov, then put it all in by getting to know that agency and getting to know someone locally in your area. Now, we give the list. This is what the list looks like for our students. Let's see if I can bring it up. This is the list that we give them of all the small businesses. United States, immigrations, transportation. There's over 1,000 names that we have here. Phone numbers and email. The key is it's a numbers game. So if I'm looking to do uniforms with the Department of Defense, I'm going to start with the Army. I am going to find a sources sought. Then I'm going to find someone locally that's affiliated with that. That's where the steps come in. So that's the learning curve that we really work hard at overcoming for you. That's the part that might take you 6, 7, 8 months to learn. That's why the average person wins a contract in 3 years. We have people that can bypass that because they've done it. So what you're getting is their experience in a condensed period of time. That's the goal. The next thing is there are on sam.gov right now, and our students will have this as well, hundreds of millions of dollars on cleaning up force. So there is the agency, the Forest Service. There's all these hurricanes, just like in our area. There's the I forget the trail, the Appalachian Trail, I think it is. It goes from Virginia all the way to like Tennessee, like hundreds of miles that was damaged. They've got contracts right now for all of these forests, and they're giving away, they got lots of money to give away. A lot of people don't even know about it. So the Forest Department is another area that we're giving great detail. So I'm giving the high level for something you can implement if you need to. Okay. So the other thing is, once you come here, so let's go to here. Once you come here, the number one thing that I am going to do is then determine, okay, I know what I'm offering. I know who my buyers are. Now I need to figure out how I want to win. I want to do a no bid. If I want to do a FEMA, we have a young lady that's been working with FEMA for over 25 years. She gave us all of the agencies outside of FEMA. There's all these agencies outside of FEMA that are hiring people that she works with. So she's getting ready to retire, and she gave us a list of all these. So the key is You may want to Google FEMA. That's the Federal Emergency Management Agency. We have contracts in Florida that we partner with our students, only students. The first students we partner with are the ones that are going to have the major equipment. The next is going to be housing inspection. And then we're looking at years of doing construction and everything. So that's one of the things that's not going to change is FEMA, and neither are those DRC opportunities. So there's a lot of disaster relief opportunities. You want to start first with your doing business with FEMA. You have to come here first. You have to fill out the vendor profile form. Remember, I'm giving you the high level, not eye level. And then after that, we have the training and the young lady that is working with our students who is getting ready to retire from FEMA. And she has given us list by list of the outside. Everybody just hears about FEMA. There are 5 and 6 year contracts on housing inspection and going in and doing all kinds of things that you wouldn't even think of that we actually have a list of. You can Google and see if you can find a list of things outside of FEMA so that you can know how to do that as well. The next thing that I'm going to share with you is coming to sam.gov and then going into the contract opportunity. And then once you go to contract opportunity, you're going to hit advanced search. And then what you want to do, and what I always do, is I'll do 2 or 3 searches. I always look for, so let's put in security. And that gives me all the security guards. I'm looking for sources sought, and I'm going to look for uniforms, and I'm going to put in dates so that I can find something within the next 30 days. The other thing that you can do that can make it really, really great is if you can go to fpds.gov. This is one of my favorite tools. It's expiring contracts. I'm going to come here. I'm going to put in security guards. And then what I'm going to look for on sam.gov is copy and paste this area in the blue. And what I want to do is I am going to see if I can find contracts that are active now that expired so I can see the pricing. So that's one of those where you can download a spreadsheet and it gives you all of it. So that's a little high level that I gave you, but the eye level is giving you the detail. So that's something that we show you how to do as well. The key is understanding the research part because the money is in finding the research, but I did give you some tools you can work with. The other number one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for agencies. I might be looking to do janitorial, but janitorial might be under facility support services. It might be under admin. That's why you've got to know more than just your NAICS code because it may not be under what you're looking for. Then I can find contracts that are going to come up that way. I can look for the agencies. But my number one way that I love is to look for contracts that have been awarded. So I can look at that company. A lot of times if I look up that company, I'll see contracts that they are getting ready to work on. So that's how I become a sub. I became a subcontractor by putting in my type of bid I'm looking for, then going in here, putting in the notice type, which was a quote, then finding the contract awardee and reaching out to them because they're going to be on FPDS. They could be on LinkedIn, and I am going to reach out to them, calling them up or emailing them. I've already got my script ready, and I'm going to tell them that I'm interested in working with them. And that is one of the ways I became a subcontractor, going directly on FPDS, clicking the view, and coming right here, and I can find everything I want about this contract. I can see who had it. I can get their phone numbers. I can see what kind of firm they are, if they're a hub zone, if they're disabled vet, because I need to make sure that I work with them, that I'm what they're looking for. I can also do a shortcut. Not in this one, but in a lot of them, what I can do is I can come down here and I can see if it's a simplified acquisition procedure. Remember, I said the easiest bid is a micro purchase. That's $10,000 and under in a SAP. There's a list of companies that do nothing but agencies that do nothing but simplified acquisition procedure. I'm going to take that list I gave you, the agencies that are going to be hiring. This is the key. There are agencies that you can find that have beat their goal. Every agency gets a goal for small businesses. By law, the reason why we shouldn't be as panicky, by law, the government has to do business with small businesses. They have to, by law. Now, it would take a lot for them to undo that law. It would take, can't just dismantle laws. You can do executive orders. Can't just dismantle laws in a second. Okay? So by law, there are agencies that have to do it. This is a key that I want you guys to do. Start doing your due diligence. Find out who your buyer is. Then see how much money they've spent. If you're a woman-owned small business, WOSB, look at what their goal was and find the ones that spent more than what they were supposed to. That means they want to work with you. So if you are a woman and you have a woman-owned small business cert, or if they say Department of Health and Human Services goal was let's say 19 million, but they've done 25 million with a small business, guess what? That's who you need to focus on, because there's a requirement. If they just meet the requirement, I wouldn't be too jazzed about them. But if they've gone over the requirement, that means they're going to want to work with small businesses like you. And that is how you start finding people. How do you see if it's a SAP? The way you're going to know it's a SAP, it's going to say it right here. Right here said full and open competition. Full and open competition means everyone gets to bid on it. Right here where it says solicitation procedures, you see right here, it was 8A competed. There were 11 bids that they received. So you want it to not, you want to look for, it's going to say SAP, simplified acquisition procedure, or it's not, probably not going to say micro purchase, because a micro purchase is automatically a simplified acquisition procedure, a SAP. So right now today, what I would focus on is sources sought for agencies. I just want it to be in uniform to local, yes. For agency, I'm going to do a sources sought for agencies that are located in my area. So I have a lot of bases near me. Look for places near you. I'm going to look for agencies that have done more business than the goal met. It's easy to find the goals. Then I'm going to match them up, make sure they're my buyer. And then I'm going to have my script. Now we have a prepared script that works like a charm, because I perfected it doing this I used to do about 200 phone calls a day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. And then I would send out emails Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. Remember this right here. Some people are going to answer you by picking up the telephone. Some people are going to respond to you by being in person with them. Some people are going to respond to you if you mail something to them. We have addresses for all these people. And the last thing, some people are going to respond by email. I'm probably a email person. If you call me on the phone, depending on what day it is, I may be busy and I might not be able to really talk to you. So that's why I always tell people, don't get caught up only in calling, only in mail outs, only in emails. Do some in-person things if you can. That's how you end up. And I'm telling you, I can't say it any clearer than this. It's all about building the strategies. When you know a strategy, you can be very progressive, and you can do more than just survive. You'll thrive. You will thrive in this. I'm telling you, it's so many ways to win contracts. Don't let them have us scared, have us running, thinking that, oh, Chicken Little, the world has come to an end. No, there are so many ways to make money. We just have to get in their lane. If they're getting contracts with the Department of Defense, get in the Department of Defense lane. Find them on SAM. Do uniforms. That's a big one. Uniforms is a big one. Absolutely. That's the thing you want to look at. So now let's go back over our system where we're going to get ready to wrap up. Offer. Spend a lot of time on the O for offer. The other thing is, remember this. Most companies should have 3 things that they're able to say they can offer a value. 3 things. Try to think of it. What can you save the government money on? What can you provide for a uniform? The number one thing is speed. Try to find a uniform company you can rent from. Rentals are going to be able to give it to you faster. So you find, let's say, Lowry Air Force Base in Colorado. That's where I was stationed. It's kind of not around a lot of stuff. There's some bases in Utah. There's some bases in Nebraska off it. Those are off the cuff bases that would definitely need uniforms. And a lot of these are through sources sought. Now, like I said, we have templates for our students. We have voice things. There's things that you have to say. Can't just, hey, I want to give you uniforms. That I'm giving you the high level. The high level is the detail, but at least you can get your mind to thinking this is possible. Okay. We've been here now since 12:53. And so we're getting ready to wrap up, but we want to start looking at what we need to do. So first go to Nix.com and get your offer together. Think of 3 things that you know you're good at. Are you experienced? Have you been doing this 12, 13 years? Do you have a staff that maybe most people don't have? Do you have capital? Do you have money that most people don't have? Can you find a grant? Can you team up with other people? Maybe they have the experience, but you have the money. Find what their strength is and what your weakness is and team with them. That's why we do small groups in our Crack the GovCode course. That's what we offer, is grouping. So you can group up with other people. We also get a lot of our alum who have done this right here, which is one of my favorite. Every place has pool contracts. This is where the money is in your state. So don't worry about federal. This right here is one of the contracts that we actually like, which is like there's transit bus parts and services. This one is emergency and homeland. There's some on here for debris. So let me see if I can find, I don't know if I'll be able to find a debris contract, but let's just put one in. Here it is right here. Emergency push and clear debris removal. And this one is in Miami-Dade. There's some everywhere. This guy does it all the time. Orlando has all these contracts. This one right here is for what? 330 million. 2018 goes through 2026. This is all of the things they're doing. Disaster relief services, tree and shrub removal, garbage, grounds maintenance. And they have, let's see how many contractors. 1, and they have 11 contractors. That means, which is what Bree did. Let's share her video so you can hear what she said. Let me share the sound. Let's see if I can share the sound. So let's go here. All right. So let's see if we can hear Bree. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello. I am your host, Can you hear it? And I'm so excited to do an interview with Bree. Bree is one of our students. She's been with us for a while. And I know that Bree has done very, very, very well. She's won multiple $1 million in contracts. But I don't do a lot of interviews like this because I always feel if people may feel that this is the easiest way, easier than what you could imagine. And I think that a lot of people that are fortunate within like a year to win multiple $1 million in contracts are the exception, not the rule. But what I like to take away from the interviews is the consistency by asking, what are 3 things that you would say help you do well? So I'm going to open it up to Bree. I'm going to ask her if she could answer that very simple question, because when I've interviewed people that have won in a relatively short period of time, millions of dollars in contracts, there seems to be similarities in things they do.
Ladies, this is going to sound crazy, but the traits that make you successful in your career are the same traits keeping you single.
And so I'm going to ask Bree, because the whole goal of this is for her to take her time to help individuals that are where she was with information that might like click. That's what we do this for, so others can hear stay motivated, know that you have to put the work in, but that you can do it. So we've been fortunate to have a relationship with Bree. And like I said, she has done a lot of amazing things. So Bree, want to open it up with saying first, congratulations. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us. What would you say are let's go with 3 things. And I asked you a little bit before we did the interview, and you mentioned one that I thought was very interesting. But what would you say, number 1, number 2, and number 3? For, let's say, someone that's been trying this, it hasn't worked, for government contracts just in general, or someone that just wants to know, what can they really do? Like, what would you suggest? So let me give me 3 things that you would say.
3 things that I would say on what someone could do if they're not
Right.
having
Like, what would you say
yeah.
that has been your success? If you had, I know you've been doing this for about a little over a year now. You've won, close to millions of dollars. I don't really like to say, I know a lot of people do. That's just not my style. You've won millions of dollars in contracts, multiple million. What would you say has been the consistent thing you've done? Is it the mindset? Is it who you know? What is it that you would say, if you had to name 3 things that you've noticed that's given you success, what would it be?
I would think the first thing would be doing it afraid. I was terrified when I got started. I had won small contracts, like contracts for like bolts and screws and those kind of things. But going over into services was just terrifying for me. And I think when I saw your information online and I had my conference call with you, and you're like, no, we're going to do 6 figures and we're going to knock it out. And I was like, well, let's go for the gold. I think I think doing it afraid was my biggest thing, being able to walk through that door.
That's a real good point you brought out, because I was speaking to someone today, and they had won a multi-million-dollar contract, and somehow they ended up not being able to keep it. Whether the person, it wasn't any fault of theirs. I just think that the government had set aside money and something happened and they didn't get the contract. And so that's been years. But when I asked them, why do you think you're not at $1 million right now? Because you've got everything that you need. The number one thing this person says is, because of what happened before, I'm afraid. And I love that you say you have to walk through the fear. People overestimate or underestimate the mindset. I always say the mindset is everything. It's everything. Because if you can't get your mind right, you're not going to look for the bids. You're not going to do any bidding. You're not going to do anything. You've got to find, your mind's got to get there. So you walk through the fear in spite of that you were afraid. What would you say would be the second thing?
I would think the second thing would be, I focused on things that I could do with confidence, right? I didn't pick something like, rocket science or, screws for NASA or anything like that. Well,
like that.
I mean, that's not a crazy thing. It's screws are screws. But I just dealt with things that made common sense.
Okay, for you, that made common sense.
For me.
And you felt comfortable. So once you got over the fear, you then started looking for contracts that were a good fit for you. I always say, when I was very fortunate to win a lot of contracts, it was in areas that I felt comfortable with. I had to feel comfortable because I was ultimately the one that signed the contract. I'm the prime.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that I felt comfortable. So you found success with feeling comfortable in areas that you were familiar with from previous, or you just said, I'm going to learn some stuff. So was it something in your background that you felt comfortable with moving forward with services, or did you learn it was your learning curve while you were learning government?
So it was in my background, because my background is in water quality. So anything dealing with water quality or with public works or with maintenance or anything like that, I'm familiar with. And so I knew if I did that, I could not psych myself out from moving forward, because I already know how to do it. Like, I can fall forward. No matter what, this is what I do. So I can't psych myself out with the fear. Like, you're moving forward, take 2 steps back.
Right. Okay, so you kind of, like with me, I wanted to start with something that I felt familiar with, and I wanted to make sure that I felt comfortable, but there were some areas that I didn't know, but I knew enough about enough.
Phone call from the boss? Sorry. Outdoor time. It's me time.
Sticking it to the boss. That sounds fun. We have sort of a flat high.
So it wasn't like 100% something new, like nursing, something I didn't know. My background was accounting. And so I started doing building services and things like that, doing the accounting. And then from there, started learning about, staffing. And next thing you knew, I felt like, okay, I could do this. Because one of the hardest things I think is the learning curve with government and your industry. It's a challenge because it's a learning curve for government, would you not say?
Yes, it's definitely a learning curve.
Definitely learning curve. So the last thing you kind of want is when you have no experience in your industry and absolutely no experience in government, because then that means you've got two things you've got to learn, and that can be a challenge. And so I know you've done the middleman, and that is a lot of different moving parts. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions on there. Has it been challenging to find someone once you find the work and you're the prime, and then you end up subbing it out, doing the middleman? A lot of people say it's hard to find someone to do the work. Would you say that you've had success in that because of they take you seriously? Why would you say you're successful at finding someone to actually do the work for you?
I think I'm successful in that because when I approach a subcontractor, I know that I'm paying. I know that the government is going to pay me. Even if they pay me slow, they're going to pay me, right? So when I'm contacting and looking for people who have the capacity to do the work, I'm not second guessing myself. I know the money's coming. So I'm going through the numbers. You can do it or you can't.
Okay.
Right.
So
Just as if I was calling on getting my tires fixed. I don't go, you don't do the emotionals up and downs. It's like, can you do it? Can you fit me in or you can't?
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
you know your numbers, you're calling. Are you allowing them to look at the scope of work and they give you the bid? Are you telling them this is what I need done and can you do it for this price?
I'm telling them this is what I need done. Give me a quote.
Gotcha.
And give me a quote in 48 hours. If not, I move on.
Gotcha. So you give them a time frame, you give them the scope of work. Because sometimes you can tell someone what you're going to pay and you leave money on the table because they were looking at doing it for less than that. And so if you say, this is the scope of work and this is how much I'm looking to pay. Now, I've had companies that did that with me and I loved it because especially when I was doing construction, there's no way I would have thought to charge that much. And in the beginning, because I wasn't as confident as I grew to get more confident. So that's kind of the interview with Bree. You can see that on another one of our channels. That's the interview with Bree that we have. Now we're going to get ready to wrap up and kind of give it to you in a recap. So the first thing is we know that there are going to be changes. The second thing is that we can automatically adjust what's going to happen. We want to make sure we have our NACS codes, our CAPE statement, our capability briefing, our introduction letter, and our profiles on DSBS and in our vendor portals. I've taught that a lot. The difference today that I'm teaching you is don't only look at services. Look at products. That's a big one. Department of Defense is going to grow by 14 to 20%. The Homeland Security is going to grow. Department of Transportation is going to grow. Department of VA is going to grow. They need uniforms all the time in Air National Guard, Department of the Veteran Affairs, DOD with the Army. These are they're going to be on SAM. Now, they're going to usually be under a sources sought. So you are going to have to know how to answer a sources sought. And you're going to want to know what to say when you call these military bases. And you're going to want to know where to call. The next thing is you're going to nail down your avenue, focus on products, focus on services, focus on going on SAM and looking for sources sought and looking for some that just came out, then going on to expiring contracts and looking for some that are going to expire, because you need to know your research by doing your pricing. The last thing is don't be afraid of AI. We teach a lot about AI because it can help you write contracts, proposals. So don't be afraid of artificial intelligence. There are certain prompts you can give it that will share with you how to write your CAPE statement. So I can say, I can copy and paste the bid, and then I can ask it to write a CAPE statement for that bid. That's how pinpointed it can be. So don't be afraid not to do that. And then the last thing is build those relationships. I do work in Dubai. I have a company that I work with that we do work in Dubai by going right here to LinkedIn. And when I go to my LinkedIn page, I've built a lot of relationships with, software to use. I like GPT. That's my favorite. There's a lot of them out there that you're just going to become. I know that that's a good one. There's several. Gemini is good for doing bidding. So there's quite a few. But this is where I come in, and I just went in here and put in Dubai. When I first got started, I went and put in Dubai. And then I started, believe it or not, reaching out to people that were in Dubai, because I wanted to do international contracts. I wanted to do pool contracts. I showed you the pool contracts right here in Miami. Every county has pool contracts, millions and millions of dollars. That's what Bree did to win her first one in South Carolina. Now, all of this can seem like it's all disjointed, but just follow the formula. O for offer, B for buyer, A for avenue, R for relation, T for teaming. My offer is going to be, I'm going to offer to buy uniforms. My buyer is going to be the Department of Veteran Affairs. My avenue is to reach out and do a no bid that I don't have to do any bidding by a source is sought. I'm going to spend a lot of time on sam.gov, acquisition.gov, and fpds.gov, finding either current bids, expiring bids, or upcoming bids. That's my strategy. I've got my template ready. I've got my phone numbers ready because I have over 1,000 numbers. I'm going to reach out to the military bases. I'm going to talk to them and say, I've got this uniform. I'm going to find previous bid to know exactly which ones are getting ready to expire. So when I call these military bases, I'm going to talk with intelligence because I know exactly what to say. Yeah, that's a good one. When I call and I know exactly what to say, I'm then going to follow up on LinkedIn so I can get to know the person. I'm going to try to find someone in my area so I can do a chat and chew in person. I want to meet with them in person. And then I'm going to go on to the I'm going to go on to the small groups that Mrs. M has. We have close to 5,000 people in our Facebook that are looking to do teaming. So for anyone that is just now here, hopefully you got some actionable items. I gave you a lot of information on a high level, but that just comes down to that formula. For anyone that says, you know what, I really want to know the eye level. I want to know the ingredients of what to say when I call the contracting officer. The way you're going to make sure they don't take it from you is what you're going to send them. And what you're going to send them is going to be just the scope of work. So we have a template for you. I think you're one of our students in disaster relief. Welcome. There is a way you're going to send that to them where they're not even going to know where the bid came from. They're only interested in, like she said, send them the quote. Can you do it? This is what you need to do. This is a statement of work called SOW, statement of work. Can you give me a statement of the price in 48 hours? That's it. They don't need to know that it's going to be for Lowry Air Force Base or for one of the Air Force bases in Texas. They don't need to know all that. They just need to know, can they do it? So we have templates for all that. Everything that you need in one area, we've been able to have great success at getting it all together. Why? Because I had to do it first. So I had to figure it all out because I had to do it. I have a list of places where you can go and look to be a subcontractor. That's the first thing I did. Then I became a prime. Then I work with small prime contractors. Then I work with large prime contractors. So only 3 ways you're going to win a contract: as a sub for a small company, as a sub for a large company, and as a prime contractor for yourself. There are going to be changes but there are going to be so many opportunities you may not even know the change, but people focus on the negative and not the positive. So if you really want to do this and you want to be ready for 2025, then I would love for you to join me for my Crack the GovCode course. I have quite a few students that are on here. They're lifetime students. You get lifetime access. And so you get lifetime access with doing all of these things. So what I'd love to offer is to open up for anyone that is interested. This is exactly what we would have for you. So let's just put that on there. And here we go. So the key is to learn the different agencies, to have all your requirements, and to know how to crack the code. And the codes are the offer, the buyer. There's 5 codes. And these are opportunities that AI gives. We've done bids with AI as well. Like I said, we do a lot of partnering with the FEMA, which is for disaster relief. So if you're interested in learning what you really need to do, this is me having a good time in Aruba because I'm so grateful to be able to have the freedom, which is what the government sends to you. This right here is for doing lot cleaning. That one just expired. We had some students that were already on that. They had put in some bids. This is one of the pool contracts again. I also teach you how to do dibs. Dibs is another way you can do product. That's the bids that she won when she said she won small ones. Dibs is a good place. That's another avenue. So if you're really interested, then this is what we do. We get together. I do free teaching. And this young lady has won she's won millions of dollars of contract. We have lots of people here that have gotten great success. This is where I give you, this is the largest government contracting conference. What I do is I offer you guys free training in DC. This is us doing the free training. This is us last year at the conference. So a lot of you may feel overwhelmed. You're at this point now where you decide everyone has a story. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't think I'm smart enough. I don't think, whatever it is, whether you go with me, just continue in the path of government. I personally have been in business since 1997. I've never seen someone be able to add as much money to their business as secure, meaning contracts, as I have with government. If you don't believe me, Google the wealthiest counties, and 5 of them are here in the Maryland, DC area because of government. The other 5 or so in Texas and the other one in California. That's not a coincidence. Government contracting is millions of money, millions. And it will never stop. It will never stop being government contracts because they have to source it out. And no president can give it to everybody they know. That's impossible. So you get to the point where you ask yourself, if you'd like to come along with me, this is what you would receive. Our on-demand platform is available 24/7. You get 100% lifetime access. This is Pam and Deborah. They won a $500,000 contract, and then they won an $85 million in their state of Georgia. Transportation. Now, when these 2 ladies came to me in September of 2023, they had 0. No money, desperate. They were really, really, really. I asked her, you can visit I'll show you my website where you can look at their interviews. I asked them, what did they do? She said, Miss M, that email list you gave us, we used your script. We called close to 85 to 90 people a day. We did our research to know what contracts were getting ready in, and we bugged the hell out of them until we won that contract. That's exactly what they said. These are the people that will help you. Our alum are not selfish. They're not greedy. They're about giving back. So this works for anyone that works. It is not going to fall in your lap. It is a hybrid. We do 8 weeks on demand, 6 weeks we do live. We have a private Facebook group. We have bids for you. And one of my favorite things is I do a drawing for anyone that pays in full. This course is $997, a one-time investment of $997. I draw your name to do an all-expense trip to Washington, D.C. Now, Susan, you were here at the other conference, right? And I think with Susan, when she came, she met like the VIP, the guy James. There were people. Matter of fact, he was the one that won. We also, you were here for the other conference, right, Susan?
I was. Had a
And did
great
you?
time.
Yeah,
Next time I wear
and there
flat
were like
shoes.
thousands of government buyers when we went to the conference, and you did get to meet the guy that won. That was our VIP that came to visit the DC James. So there are so many opportunities. Thanks, Susan. She came to the DC, but this is what everyone would receive: 24/7 access, live modules, access to our bidding platforms, PDFs, test assessments, checklists for your course, support from our Facebook. We do live training. We have a support team that's available Tuesday through Thursday from 10 to 12. We give you email support, and we do what I call our conference contract and call-ins. So you're getting support on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays is your own little day, and then Thursday. Our first day is December 2nd. Our cart is officially open now. We only do open enrollment 3 times a year. We do open enrollment in November, March, and July. That's it. So we will be open, but only if you enroll today will you receive this. So any student that pays in full, we do have a payment plan, but this is what students receive if they pay in full. Now, if you do your research, you will see that I'm going to show you a couple of our testimonials. There's a gentleman that came to the conference that Susan was at that paid $10,000, and he didn't win one contract, and he came with us and he won a contract in 2 weeks. This isn't something I'm saying, this is something they're saying. You have a full paid students will get a chance for an all expense paid trip for 2 days to visit me in Washington, D.C. We will have a government buyer there, just me, you, and the government buyer, with the hopes of you snagging a no bid contract. You will get a plane fare from as long as it's in the United States. I pay for your hotel. I give you a food voucher so you don't have to spend any money on that. And then I invite you all expense paid trip to the largest government conference, which is the GPC conference in Washington, D.C. That's the one that Susan went to. She paid her own way, but she came to our conference and I did a free training. And that's where we met over 1,000 government buyers.
I'm coming to
Literally
the next
over
one
1,000.
too.
Would you say, Susan?
I'll be at the next one too.
Yeah, I mean, it's the largest conference in the world for government. They're right there where you can walk up to the booth and talk to them. Now that ticket is $300, and that's a part of what I give you if you win the contest to come see me. The other thing is I do one-on-one 30-minute consulting. My consultings are like $197. 30% off on any upcoming conferences. I get a lot of DC conferences, meeting with the government contractor during the graduation, a 90-day journal on what to do the day after you graduate. That's how people were able to win the contracts, because I give you a step-by-step on what to do every single day. 4 months on our bidding platform. You get grant applications. We have a team of people that pool money together to give to my students for grants. So when they pool more money together, we have more grants to give because you don't have to pay those back. We also have a loan application because our goal is to give up to $50,000 to small businesses. That way money is not an object for you, which is a lot of times what people find when they're trying to do products. They've got to buy the product before they can give it to the government. So we try to bridge all that. Some of the special classes you get: how to build business credit, how to when and how to fill out grant paperwork. And then we also offer our partnerships. We have contracts in Orlando, Florida. That's where I got started. I'm registered in Orlando, Miami-Dade, Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. So I have contracts in Florida. I was there for 13 years. So I know that area like the back of my hand. As a matter of fact, I still go back and forth because I'm still in that area. This is what you receive today for the level 2 bonus. You'd be considered a level 2 student. Lifetime access. And I update this every other course. So like once a year, I'm revamping it. And so for the month of November, it's going to be almost all new. I'm adding in all the different things you need to do. I kind of went over you in the high level, but I give you all the eye level. Now, one of the things I take pride in is we have a lot of students that come back again and again. I don't think they do that if they didn't feel we gave them great value. Just the fact that you have 4 months to our bidding platform, that bidding platform is about $100. That's $400 something right there. And the cost is $997. Now, I'm not going to say that that's just a little bit of money. That's why our goal is for you to win a contract in 2 weeks to 90 days for about $10,000, because we want you to recoup that money 10 times. Now, our win rate's about 88%. 88% is what our students that graduate win. For anyone that wants to do the payment plan, you would do to secure your spot, it would be $345. You would then have 2 more payments of $345 that would be due within the 30 days. If you are interested in registering, and then also you would receive a group of, so this is what you receive for level 4. That means you're on the payment plan. You would get a 90-day journal, 2 months on our bidding platform instead of 4. You would not be able to be registered for an all-expense trip to Washington, D.C. That's only for our VIP students that pay in full. You would get a 1-hour group session with me instead of a one-on-one with me. You would not be able to meet with a government buyer, but you would get the interview from the government buyers. You would get a special class on how to obtain $150 in credit, $150,000 in credit. You would not get the grant application, but you would get access to the loan, and you would get 20% off any government conferences. This is for anyone, and this is valued at about 400 and something. Just the journal alone has a lot of value, because we also give you access to these people that are winning these $1 million contracts. They're your alum, so you have access to them as well. So anyone that's interested, the card is officially open, and you would receive these bonuses if you signed up for the actual today. By noon, there's the one-on-ones that you receive. Now, the card stays open for a couple of days. We do only take 200 students. That's because we have so many previous students that come back that send us their case statements and all of that information. So if you're interested before that cart closes or before we reach our students, then you would just click on here. And class starts December 2nd. So I'm going to share with you what that looks like. And we do spend a lot of time on the pool contract because we want to be prepared for if you're not going to do the federal. This is where you would go. This is our actual website for it. It gives you, by the end of this course, what you should have. You have who it's good for, enrollment ended. Now it's going to open again. And this is where you would come to make your payment. If you were interested in doing a full payment, you would click here. If you're already a disaster relief student, you wouldn't pay the full price. We give you a credit of $297, so it would be $700. And if you're interested in doing the payment plan, you would submit it here. Here are all of what you would receive. A money-back guarantee until December the 3rd. So if you wanted to join, we feel so confident that we give you to December the 3rd to actually get your do a money-back guarantee. That's the website here. These are our winners right here. They've got great testimonials. And if you still have any questions, that's me right here. I've been doing this since '97. This is our support team. So if you had any questions, these are all of our photos. This is what the other VIP said.
I owe you some money, don't leave.
Hello, hello, hello. I am Mrs. M with our, and let's just make sure you can hear his couple of minute, let's see if it's here. Okay. Class 105, Crack the GovCode VIP winner, James Murray. So James, how was today? How was your trip here with us as the Crack the GovCode winner?
Well, Ms. M and all members who plan to attend this course, this is phenomenal. All you have to do is pay attention to the instructions that Ms. M's give you, and it's right on point. I had a fantastic time. It's the end of the course, and myself and others are walking away with opportunities that you didn't think you could walk away with. So
now, he was our VIP winner. He came to Washington, D.C. from Chicago for an all-expense paid trip. James has won 3 contracts. 3. Now, he's an exception, not the rule. He's sharp. He's on point. Anyone could do it, but I always like to say that I don't want anyone to think it's easy. He put the work in. So anyone that's interested, that is what we offer. This is where you would go. You would go to the Crack the GovCode Academy, and the cart is open, and you would just scroll down to the middle, and you would submit your payment right here. Full payment is where you get a chance to come visit me. DRC students, if you pay in full, you also are considered a full paid student. And anyone that wants to join, they would need to secure their spot with 345. And everyone, we have a no refund policy after December 3rd at noon. Are there any questions? This is what our school platform looks like. So you would come right here. We have about 25 hours of training, and this is where you would come. You would get you would actually get the password to actually come in. I'm going through the back way. So you would actually get that. This is what our school platform, this is our on-demand that you have access to 24/7. So this will keep up with how much work you've done. This is all that information right here. We also have our resource vault where you have over 3 years of other students. You have access to interviews with our government buyers. I work closely with GSA, General Services Administration. Yes, Anthony, you had a question.
Yes. When we're talking, great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
When we're talking about, you're saying like the young lady made won 10, millions of dollars in contract. Does that mean that she's receiving millions of dollars, or is it over like a period of time? How does that exactly work?
Very good question, Anthony. So to answer your question, yes, I have different bonuses. This bonus, all of these bonuses that you're seeing will end on Thursday at midnight, because everyone that's here is attending the masterclass. You're getting a bonus that no one else gets, because after the masterclass, the cart, that means the open enrollment will last a little longer, but only people that are here will receive all of those. So this bonus would end on Thursday at midnight. Okay. Then you could still enroll, but you wouldn't receive the same thing. All right. You would still get some bonuses, but not all of those. Now, your question is, there is a such thing called total value contract. That means that over the years, if my contract is $4 million, that my total value contract amount is probably $1 million per year. If my contract is 600,000, then I'm going to divide what that is into 4 years. And most of them are 3 to 4 years. They'll start off with what they call a base year. That's year number 1. It's called a base year. And then you might have 3 other years. So the total is 4. As long as you're doing what you do, it's a 4-year contract. So they won't get rid of you. That's where the longevity comes in the long term. That's how you get the long money. So she won $1 million contract. That was $1 million over a year for her state. Then she won the $9 million contract, and that total dollar amount was 9 over 4 years. So that's how that is. So what a lot of people will do is she does the middleman all the way. She's still working a job. A lot of people, what they'll do is they know, okay, I need to make $88,000 a month to sustain what I'm interested in, because I want to leave my job or I want to retire, whatever. They'll look at what they need to make. in order to do that. Maybe 3 contracts at 44,000, whatever they feel, but it's the total combined. Okay. This presentation will go out after. It's probably going to go out a little bit later because it takes a while to download it. But yes, anyone interested, this is our actual entire website. This is all about me, all of our training. You can come here and you can also see our Crack the GovCode Academy. So if you come here, it's going to give you about the course. It's going to talk about all of the curriculum, which you should learn at the end. And also, I do certifications. Certs by themselves cost about, now you can go free. You can go to PTAC and they will, and I'm always a transparent person. You can go to PTAC if you can get in with them. Some PTACs are better than others. They're called Apex now, but they're the government part. Don't think they're not going to cut training for that. So I do the certs, woman-owned, 8A hub, that's a part of the course. I give you AI, part of the course. I'm doing your GSA schedule, part of the course. GSA schedule is about $4,000. Do your research and see what the cost is for all of this stuff. That's why I give you everything under one so you can do all of it. Now, we've had people that paid before we opened because they wanted to make sure they got a spot. These are our winners. These are all our success stories. That's just a few. And then if you have any further questions, you can absolutely contact me. I'll put my phone number in there. And then this is our rating right here. This is what our students have given us as a rating. We got a 4.7 out of a 5. So we're very proud of the rating that we've gotten. And it's like pulling teeth for people to do rating, but we've gotten really great ratings from our students. This is the phone number that you can contact if you have a question. This offer for all the bonuses, you will always get the core course, but the bonuses to come meet me, to meet with a government buyer, to do the GSA schedule, to do the 8A and the woman's zone, all of that is for $997 if you are full paid DRC students. Like I have some of you that did the $297. You can upgrade for $700 to be on the VIP paid, or for anyone that wants to do the payment plan to secure it is $345. And that is it. Are there any other questions you have for me? Anything else? So I'm going to put in the chat. This is, thank you, Eve. This is for everyone. If you want to join, you would go to Crack the GovCode Academy.com. And my number is right here, 407-986-8228. Let's put that in there again. 407-986-8228. Or you can visit us for a free consultation for 15 minutes about any questions. Anything else you have to know about government, any strategies you want me to go over for you, anything else before we wrap up? Okay, well, let's make that money. I would love to see some of you, all of you, most of you as students. Our students have had great success. Take your time, visit our GovEdge and our Academy of Cleaning. I'm sorry, GovEdge and our Crack the GovCode Academy so that you can join us. And we start December 2nd. So I look forward to seeing you guys. Have a fantastic day and let me see, we have 2 questions here. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Take care. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you learned something new. Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.